Previously on Follow the Leader. Magic is dying, and the Magus is dying with it. We travel together to the realm of Umbra where magic was born. Fall of Magic is a collaborative storytelling game where we play a group of travelers in the company of the Magus. On the way, we'll encounter strange hosts, fantastic places, and perilous choices as we play to discover who our characters are, how they relate, and how our journey changes them.
My character's name is Arcady. They use they-them pronouns. And they are a fugitive of Stormguard. They took something that they should not have. And didn't look back.
I will be taking the helm of Arcturus Regulus, a knight of Stormguard.
I will be playing Wathalie, who is a midwife of Barleytown. Faye uses Faye or she pronouns, and I just want to say that I envisioned Faye as a, very large, 9 foot tall, half-treant person with, weaves for hair that change with the seasons. So, we now return to your game, already in progress.
So, Zach, it's your turn.
Oh, shoot, it's my turn. Okay. I will, okay, by that token, I will go to At Dawn, your morning ritual. And the next morning, it is Arcturus. So he, from Arcturus's point of view, it's like he goes down, lies on his back, crosses his arms, closes his eyes, opens them again, it's morning. Which is, that's his perspective on all events that occur while he is asleep. He sits up, buckles on his armor, which takes 10 minutes as per the doffing and donning rules. His breastplate, his gauntlets, his greaves, his boots, his big cape. And then once he is prepared for battle, he goes and what is it? He goes and drinks from the wine from the water skin. He drinks 2/3 of it, and then a glass of water or whatever, a canteen, and then spreads the rest out, like the storm, like raining, and then he's just very, very quietly doing all of the sort of chores of being on a quest. He sharpens his sword, he sharpens his spear, he takes the Magus' sword and sharpens it. If anyone else has a sword, he sharpens it. Polishes armor, feeds the horses. His morning ritual is just everything that needs to get done.
I dig it.
And he, as part of that, stops and looks to the east and smells the air to see where the moisture is and if it might rain today.
Is it going to rain today?
Well, I don't know how it is where you're from, but where I'm from, the end of summer is always marked with monsoon season. So he smells the petrichor in the air and smiles.
May I also suggest that when he wakes up, the line of demarcation of summer has moved, like, visibly.
Ooh. Yeah, he like smiles and then turns around to see it, and it's like further away than it should be, and he frowns. All right, we all need to get up and get moving. This is not something we let fester. Yeah, that's me.
Alrighty.
I think I'm going to go to Harper's Road. The prompt is, who you left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is, like, after we've packed up and we're on the road again. And I think Lawfully is walking next to Arcadie's horse. And Faye looks... I think it's still down, like, unless Arcadie's riding, like, a draft horse or something, I think Lawfully is still looking down at them.
I think even if it was like a Clydesdale, I think Faye would still be looking down a little bit.
Yeah, they might be close to eye level, but no, Lawfully's still looking down, and Faye's like, if I may pry, I'm pretty curious. Why would you leave it all behind?
They glance round to see how close Arcturus is on his horse.
He is close, but is like almost perhaps a little bit obviously not like looking at them.
They look background sort of on the road, and they don't answer for a moment. And like for a second, I think there's just like the sound of like the horse's hooves like thumping against the ground, and Othelai sees their hand sort of going to the bag at their hip. I had more reasons to leave, or a better reason to, not more. At least I thought so.
I'm trying to think of how Lawfully would phrase this.
I think like Arcadie's in their mid to late 20s. They're not like a teenager who's done this. This is like an adult, or somebody who appears to be an adult has made that choice.
Honestly, I think Lawfully and Arcadie are like the same age developmentally. Like Arcadie's probably closer to like 50 or 60, but for a half treant, Faye is effectively in the early to mid 20s range. And she says, I can't imagine giving up my family that way. But if you say you have your reasons, you have your reasons.
I think their hands tighten on the reins of the horse, and there's like that slight crackling sound again, and the smell of ozone intensifies a little bit, and they aren't looking at her when they say, not all families are the same, and like makes the horse go a little bit faster, so they don't have to talk to her for a little bit. Pull ahead a little.
Yeah, Faye does not follow. Faye lets Arcadie go. Cool. So we're back around to Jade, huh?
Oh, yeah. Alrighty. They should do something with this Magus. Maybe this is... Yeah, maybe I think I'm going to move the Magus. And this is us entering Barleytown. So we leave the sort of leafy paths and nooks and crannies of the Oak Hills, and the terrain sort of levels out a little as the trees give way to sort of rolling fields. was about to say, and amber waves of grain. Why do I know that? Oh, I know why I know that. But I think it is that. It's like the trees almost sort of like give way. And there's like these just soft, like the grains moving in the breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the side of the town down in the valley. Like you like got all these fields, and then just like nestled in the heart of this is this town that they're moving towards. And I think what this is it's a festival, and every year a barley lord gets crowned, as it were, who gets to sort of like oversee proceedings. And there's a big thing made in the center of town, and it's like a Thanksgiving-y, a cornucopia kind of vibe, like the beginning of the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a purely ceremonial thing, and it is a time when anyone can come to Barleytown and be fed. Like they throw open all the doors, all are welcome, because it's a time of bountifulness. And there's this belief that when you share, it will come back to you. And so that openness, like the willingness to share, but is like considered to be prosperous for the winter. Mm-hmm. Like if you are generous now, winter will be kind. Well, that's the superstition anyway. So
that makes sense.
So as they sort of head into town, I think they can hear music, and there are like streamers like hung about the place. And maybe even like the path into the town between the fields, like the last of the summer flowers, like they're scattered along to like make this colourful carpet almost as we make our way into the town.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
I think the Magus does smile at seeing all of this, because this isn't about magic. This is the people and their love for the land, and they're sharing it in each other, and that is a reassurance even in this deeply uncertain time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'd like to add a detail.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's Barleytown, I want to say that there are a bunch of breweries in this town. Mm-hmm. And so, like, there's also kind of like an Oktoberfest vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of beer, lots of music.
Dig it.
Oh, yeah. Is it me?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
All right. What I am going to do is head down. Arcturus, as we arrive in town, says, "All right, we're going to be going to the Stormguard Mountains next, so we're going to need mountaineering gear, heavy cloaks. Some of you are less accustomed to the climate." And he goes to the farmer's market to get what you need for the journey.
Alrighty.
Now, this is actually an interesting thing, because he is assuming or declaring that you are going to continue your quest by going through the Stormguard Mountains. But this is actually, the next spot is a fork,
mm-hmm.
where you go to two different places,
mm-hmm.
being the mountains or through the Mistwood. So if people had a preference in the other direction and wanted to establish that as being the direction the Magus wants to go, perhaps, or that someone else wants to go, and we could make like a thing of it almost. This would be a good chance to do that as like part of an interaction or a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, Arcturus is just going to get heavy blankets and fur cloaks and snowshoes and rock climbing gear.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that the heavy blankets and fur cloaks wouldn't be useful further on anyway, especially with the encroaching of, like, the unnatural autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if Lothley comes with you?
Not at all.
I was going to say, is this fair stomping ground?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're a midwife of Barleytown, right?
Yes, this is where Fair's from. I'm imagining that one of Fair's parents was from the Oak Hills, and the other one is from Barleytown, and that's why she came from Barleytown.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows a bunch of people here. Like, you know, I'm imagining this is, like, kind of a fairly bustling place. You know, there's a lot of people coming and going, and I think that, like, someone who's involved with, like, midwifery is probably, you know, someone who may be kind of busy here just because of the large population, or largish population. So Faye knows a bunch of people, and when Arcturus is, like, trying to purchase from somebody, Faye just kind of, like, lays a firm hand on his shoulder and leans down to whisper, "Not that one." That's barely worth 5 coin, and they're trying to charge you 10. No, come with me.
Yes, this is something that I've noticed here, is that you use these coins made of metal.
Well, what else are they going to be made out of? Paper? Ha!
Lightning.
Do these people look like they can handle lightning to you? Do I look like the sort of person who cares to touch lightning?
He looks at his coin purse filled with little tiny chips of electricity. Yes. Unfortunate. Well, my money's no good here. It seems. So perhaps the quartermaster position should fall to one who is more equipped to handle these transactions.
That seems like a prudent call. And Faye leads Arcturus down an alley and then into another corner of the market where a couple of people, like, wave at her. And she waves back and just kind of, like, nudges Arcturus in the direction of one of the friendly-seeming sellers in a stall.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, kind of slips him a small coin purse and says, "Don't spend it all in one place."
Right. Yes, hello, hawker. I require goods. Yeah. He goes and buys some stuff.
Beautiful.
That's me.
It's my turn now, huh? Oh man, these are all really good. Jade, do you want to play the Magus?
Sure. I haven't played the Magus yet. Well, not in a scene. I've done, like, the moving.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you moved the Magus here, so...
Yeah, no, I'm happy to.
So, I think Lothily goes to one of the mini taverns that has thrown open its doors and is, you know, letting the beer flow. And it's, I'm choosing the Inn of the Axe and Fiddle, the story prompt being A Song of Your People. And I think this is something where, like, she dragged the Magus, because he was, maybe looking just a little bit down, and, she dragged the Magus here, and is just like, "You have to sample this." And, she presses a pint of ale into the Magus's hands, while she, takes a pint of her own. And I think instead of, like, drinking it with her mouth, she, like, puts her fingers in it to just kind of, like, it slowly gets soaked up, like, visibly, but that's how she consumes the beer.
Very good. I think when he's given the pint, the maid's just like, "Well, I've never turned down a free drink in my life. I'm certainly not going to start now." And happily chugs away a part of the pint, sets it down, wipes the suds from his bed and sits back on his stool and takes in the inn around the two of them. He's just like, so this is your part of the world, isn't it?
Lawfully nods. I'm glad your research brought us here at this time of year. It's my favorite. And I think that one of the guests, who's probably more than a little bit schnockered, climbs up onto one of the tables nearby, and while gently swaying on their feet, starts clapping to set the beat, and then starts belting out a very silly and very bawdy song about the founding of Barleytown and, you know, the sowing of seeds. And, you know, fertile harvests, that kind of thing. And it's very silly, but the Magus...
What have we got in Barleytown? We've got lots of kids in Barleytown!
Oh, very good.
Yes, exactly. And the Magus catches Lothalai, like, singing under fair breath.
I think when he sees that, he starts singing along loudly. Beautiful voice. Knows all the words, because of course he does. It's like, starts strumming out like a counter melody, like, or a harmony along on the top of the table that they're sat at. So, gets a song going in a round. So,
yeah.
Good shit.
Very good.
So yeah, back around to Arcady.
Because of who I am as a person and because it's fun, I'm going to head over to the old Abbey.
Ooh.
I think this is like while the partying is happening and they sort of walk away to like... I feel like this is a ruin. This isn't like an active abbey. And sort of pushes open whatever remnants of a door there is and goes and sits and just looking up at whatever there is informed like an altar or whatever, what remnants there might be of it. And just sits and like there's still like the faint sound of like music and laughter, but it's a lot more muffled. And I think it does start raining. And maybe the rain doesn't even get all the way over to the town, but it definitely starts raining above the abbey. So I'll leave this open to if anybody wants to be in it as well.
Well, I know where rain is 100% of the time. So yeah, I could definitely, Arcturus could certainly be there when he senses the downpour.
I like the thought that the rain gets a little heavier when he shows up, and the drumming of it on the roof of the abbey is enough to start to drown out the laughter and the sounds of music from the town. And now it's just like the sound of rain and footsteps in this big empty abbey.
The door opens and he comes in. Despite it raining so hard outside, he's actually dry. Because the storm guard have an understanding with the sky.
But not the river or springs, though.
No, those are...
Well, that's groundwater.
That's groundwater, yeah. We have sky water is our thing. Just part of the comedy of it. He says, I never took you to be religious.
I'm not. I just like the quiet.
He looks up at the sound of the rain slamming down onto the roof. There's a crack of lightning. Yes, quiet.
Sort of turn round to sort of look at him properly. I'm not going back.
Crosses his arms. What else are you going to do, Arcadia? Where else have you to go?
With the Magus?
The Magus is going to Stormguard.
We don't have to go that way. You want to go that way.
Yes. It is a safe path. Well trod, well known. The only other option takes us through the Mistwood. And those rangers play tricks.
Of course you would say that. I can't go back.
Squints.
I think this is where they reach into their bag and pull out what it is they've been carrying. And I googled the word I thought of, and I'm really annoyed as what it originally came from, so I can't use that, and I'm pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to go with like an Allspark, and I was just like, fuck, that's Transformers.
That is Transformers, yeah.
But I do think it's something like that. And it
The Spark.
Thank you, that's better. But it looks, I feel like almost like, have you ever seen one of those anatomical models of a heart where it's just the blood vessels that form around the outside of it?
Maybe.
I'm fairly certain I've seen like anatomical drawings or like visual representations of just the blood vessels around a heart. And it's like visual, but it's lightning instead of blood vessels. But it is like forming the shape of a heart inside this glass container with like wrapped with iron bands around it to protect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you pull it out, Arcturus like steps forward and then catches himself. That artifact it belongs to the entire guard. You can't just use it for yourself.
I didn't take it to use it for myself.
Why then?
It needs to be away from her. It's not right to keep. We shouldn't be shut away like this. We were the last to know. We've become so insular. We can't keep this.
We keep it safe, Arcadia. We stay safe.
What good is safety for just a few? Not everything is meant to be contained like this. There's a loud thunderclap outside. It like cuts off whatever they keep talking, but like it like totally muffled by the sounds of the weather outside.
Mm-hmm.
And like their eyes, I think they have the same sort of like electric blue eyes that he does. And they're like shining, and it like they're clearly deeply upset, but they're like lacking the articulation to because they feel like they're not getting through to him. So it's just the frustration is building, and the crackling around them is more obvious, and the storm is getting heavier outside. I feel like maybe the rain has spread enough to like the rain has now gotten to Barleytown as well, even if like the storm part is more localized over the abbey.
Mm-hmm. There's like a crack as lightning actually hits like a spire.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in this class, and the Earth Spark is also like sparking brighter as well, and it's like starting to almost glow and be a source of light in this. Maybe the only source of light in there.
Yeah, none of us have noticed that all of the candles have blown out.
Mm-hmm.
As Arcturus kind of looks around and he says, "This building is not meant to contain the wills of two Stormguard. We will see what the Magus says." And when he says that we're going to the mountains, you will follow. And then he flourishes his cape and goes and leaves.
I think they sort of sink back down onto the pew that they were on and just hold the spark to their chest, and it's still glowing and crackling quietly. And they whisper something to it that is like carried away by the sound of the rain. But I think maybe it like pulses a little bit in that way. It's sort of like Will o' the Wisps and like Tinkerbell and some incarnations, just like it's how you can tell maybe it's talking because the light flickers coming from it.
Very cool.
That's my thing.
Hell yeah. Is it me then?
It is.
And I get the Magus.
Yep. So you get to make the decision of where we go.
The next morning, as we all meet back up at the Inn of the Axe and Fiddle, the Magus kind of sweeps in as this big presence, and he says, "Fantastic news, my friends! I've gotten a great deal on a map through the Mistwood."
Nice.
That is fantastic news, says Arcady, smiling brightly.
Yes, and Arcturus is like, you can't map of the Mistwood. It's changing constantly. Well, that's what they say, but stop biting me. She wants attention. She's old. She is allowed to bite me. And the Magus says, "Well, be that as it may, I already paid for it." So.
Incredible.
And thus, yes. We go, and thus the Magus drives everyone through, and we go to the fork in the road that says Mistwood this way, Stormgod Mountains this way, and we turn left.
Amazing.
And Arcturus like stops at it and like looks and sighs. And we arrive at the Mistwood, this huge, ancient, willed forests, deep, old growth. The Oak Hills were old for sure, but they have nothing on the Mistwood. And the sword prompt is what slows you down. And I think as we arrive at the Mistwood, the horses become suddenly very uncooperative.
Mm-hmm.
And the Magus says, "Oh, right, yes, horses don't exactly agree with the underbrush here. It's sort of, it's murder on their hooves. We're going to have to let them trot back to Ravenshall and go the rest of the way on foot." And the doctor said, "They have all of our bags on them. All of the gear and supplies that and the man waves it away and says, "Arcturus, my friend, the world will provide. Do not fear. It's going to be okay." What does everyone else feel about that?
I feel like Arcady figures out exactly what they're able to carry and just sort of like starts unloading the horses, and then we'll just like talk a little bit to the horse that they were riding. Because at the end of the day, they won. in their mind. So they're pretty chipper about it. And as I said, they're pretty tall and broad. So they're not like afraid of carrying the heavy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think Lawfully, I think she actually just like unhooks the saddlebags from one of the horses and just like shoulders them, and after a moment of like feeling the weight, unhooks the saddlebags on another one of the horses and puts it on her other shoulder, and is just like, well, I mean, we can carry just as well as them.
Arcturus grumbles and takes off the last saddlebag and throws it over his shoulder. Magus says, "Fantastic. Don't worry, I'm sure we will be totally fine. After all, the world will provide." And he just walks straight into the forest.
amazing. So, August.
I kind of feel like the only choice I have is by moonlight, who these trees remind you of. Just as a tree person. So I think I think that there are brief moments where the mist like parts a little bit so you can see some of the sky, kind of like the mist is taunting you. And so I think it's one of those moments, maybe Lawfully has fallen a little behind, and she pauses for a moment when there's a break in the mist, and she can see the moon kind of like, what's the word? I want to say waxing gibbous.
When it's getting big.
Gibbous.
Yeah, it's getting big, but it's past the half, so it's not full, but it's on its way to.
Yeah, I think that's gibbous.
I played a bunch of Werewolf the Apocalypse. I should know this by now. Although that was many years ago. So like it's on its way to being full, and so there's the promise of that little bit of light, and in that moment, like, I think maybe somehow there is a very large weeping willow that the moonlight just kind of like hits the leaves just right. And for a moment, Faye regrets leaving Barleytown, even though Faye knows that this is an important thing and Faye can't really say no to the Magus. But the weeping willow reminds her of, let's say, her mother. Let's say she has two mothers, and this is her treant mother that she's reminded of, with the trailing branches of the weeping willow. And she's just got, like, a stab of homesickness for a moment, and then the mist, like, closes up, and things are back to being kind of shadowy. And, she hurries back on ahead, to catch up with the rest of the group.
Alrighty. I'm looking at these and trying to decide what would be more fun. We haven't done a peril yet, but somebody else might want to do the peril.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have one that you were strongly feeling about, Zach?
Not strongly.
Okay. If you had a preference for one, I just wanted to make sure I didn't choose it.
No, you're good.
Okay. All right, let's go with foraging then. Because why not? And because let's do a peril.
The lesson you teach.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? So this is a numbered story prompt, which is a peril. Describe the first line. She put a regular story prompt, and then when you're finished, we roll a die and describe the result. So, Dang. So I think this is after we've like settled for the night. Or like for the day. Maybe I like the thought that maybe with how thick the mist is here, it's sort of always that sort of ambient light, and it's really hard to tell what time it is. So it's more like we travel when it feels like it's been enough time to stop, and then we stop and we settle down, we unpack as much as we were unpacking, and as the Magus was so good to point out, the world will provide. So and this is Arcady sort of leaving the small relative safety of the small campsite they've set up and moving out into the mist to find food. So, like, I like the visual of like the mist being thick enough to leave like droplets of moisture on their clothes as they move through, and it's so thick that you almost have to like, it's like pushing through like thick like trees or like walking through bush almost. It's like that dense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So roll a d6.
Ooh, 4.
Alrighty. A little sad it wasn't a 6, but you know, that's just my brand. 6 foxes is the thing. But yeah, so 4 is so the lesson you teach, bounty of the forest. What the fuck does this look like? Okay. I think what this is a reflection of the lesson you teach. Given what they said to Arcturus in the Abbey, I think what this is they pull the spark out from their bag again. Because I think they realize that they're lost. Like, they've gotten turned around and they aren't quite sure what they're supposed to be doing now. And, like, the mist is so thick they can't really hear anything anymore either. I think, like, they're talking to the air spark and, like, whispering to it almost. Like, what do I do? And the camera, as it were, the camera can't hear whatever it is that the spark is saying. And I think there's like the camera sort of pulls back slightly, and then we hear a shattering of glass.
Ooh.
And you know that scene in Mad Max Fury Road where you see the lightning spiral out through the sandstorm? I think it's like that, but through the mist. I think what it is like you see like these lightning like run up trees and stuff like that, and in the mist you start seeing like the outlines of things, and it's like the spark of life within all things, and it's what allows them to find both food but also find their way back to the others, because it's like this glow that they can see in things, like almost like switching like to night vision or something, but they're seeing that instead of being blinded by the mist. And the bounty of the forest is just how much life there is here, and it's easy to forget that when all you can feel is like this oppressive mist around you, but you can feel totally cut off from everything, but it's there. It's always there, even if you can't see it or feel it. It's there. And they sort of come back to the others with like some good mushrooms and like maybe something else. All I can think of is mushrooms now. I've forgotten all other things that one might forage, like some late berries and like blackberries, like autumn fruit, soft fruits, and then come back with all of that. And I think their step is lighter than it was when they left. And they look a little bit more sure of themselves than when they left. But they don't say anything to anyone. They sort of like just set down the food that they found and sort of like settle down on their bedroll.
Very cool.
That's me.
Fantastic. Well, so we have two options. One of them is camping what runs out, and we just foraged, so I can't imagine that would be accurate. So what I'm going to do is head over to the Trail of the Rangers and the Changing Mist. And so Arcturus is like, all right, let me see that map, and sees the map that the Magus bought, and says, This is just a poem. Yes. It is the key to finding your way through the forest. And Arcturus is like, that's not a map.
Amazing.
He says, Arcturus, my friend, you are very caught up in this map business. He says, oh, fine. If no one will do it, I will lead the way. And he charges ahead, not charging, like running, but picks up his pace to get to the front of the group, and begins following the trail. And the unfortunate thing is the trail through the mist. The mist is thick. It's oppressive, even. It is the mist wood. It's thick enough that it's something that is it's named for. And so very quickly, the camera follows him as he steps forward and says, see, with this pace, we'll be out of the... And he turns around and he's alone.
Oh boy.
And Arcturus says, Okay, all right, I can handle this. I'm a knight of the Storm Guard. I am trained for these situations. And as he's talking, there's voices in the distance, just on the other side of a bank of mist. It's just, right, there you are. And he just runs forward and passes through the mist and comes to another empty clearing. And through the mist, there's this voice that says, why, Knight of the Storm, do you think you can keep lightning in a bottle? He whirls around, his cape flowing in the mist, draws his sword, and he says, who is that? Villain that you are, speaking riddles in the woods. It's deeply dishonorable. And the voice comes back and says, this thing that gives you strength, primordial, protean, ever-changing and surging, you cannot keep your hands on it. And he runs and swings his sword and buries it into a tree, thinking that was the thing that was talking to him. And the voice continues and says, the first thing you learn as a Knight of Stormguard is that you have to get off before it kills you. Have you ridden the lightning so long as to forget? And Arcturus just holds his sword up, and it gets struck by lightning, and it just slams it down, and just this huge shockwave of mist bellows out from him, and he's can see 100 yards in every direction through the woods, and there's nobody there. Then, as that voice chuckles and recedes into the forest, he sees the campfire. And walks back to it as the rest of the party has already completed their day of walking and made camp for the night. And the Magus says, "Oh, Arcturus, we're starting to get worried about you. Do you have the firewood?" And Arcturus looks down and he's holding a cord of freshly cut wood. He says, "Yes, I suppose I must."
Dope.
Very, very good.
Puts it on the fire. Goes to sleep.
How does he sleep after that?
Restlessly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hi, it's August, and I just wanted to thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed us, please consider leaving a rating on your podcast platform of choice, telling your friends about us, or tweeting about us using the FTLcast hashtag. We are also part of a nonprofit podcasting guild called Standing Stones Productions. We do a variety of shows, including The Room Where It Happened and Dumb Kids Playing Hero, 2 actual play shows, and a Steven Universe discussion podcast called Gay Space Rocks. We also do live streams at twitch.tv/standingstonesprod. You can keep up with everything that we do on Twitter at stones_standing. Unfortunately, Standing Stones was already taken. Your support means a lot. Thanks again!